90% of their day is nonsense phone calls and just chasing stuff down that an email of a chat could have solved. You're going to wear them out. That's why the turnover rate is so high. One of the reasons why the turnover, not the only.
10 years from now, you're going to have agentic use of software. So we have to rewrote FM dashboard to have tool use, a full coverage API, and now full-blown security, the same security you would have with people having to log in and use. You can use that FM dashboard without ever having to touch the software. I have a son who's about to graduate college. This whole time in college, you basically were punished if you used AI to get work done, and you're about to enter a workforce where you're going to be rewarded heavily for using AI to get work done.
Hold on one second. I need to take this call. Hello?
Trying to get up in work order. Would you rather go over these over the phone, or should I send you a chat link?
Well, since I'm on a podcast, let me go ahead and take care of a couple of them. What you got? Send me a chat link by email.
I want the internet to decide what beard is better. Yours is all fluffy. Mine's like, I got a nice.
Yeah, I'm going to tighten her down before this Connects FM.
You
Or this
pumped for
Connects
this?
FM look a little less homeless and a little more like I have a job.
Yeah. You're like, right now
You know
it's
it's
like, tell me
bad
you
when
work
I can
from home
take
without-
it, when I can take the ends and do this, which I thought would be a look for Connects, don't you think? Like, what if we did this for Connects? And I just
Maybe.
like,
I mean, people would definitely remember you.
I'd be like, use our products, get us VMC. But I won't do it.
You could. Why
I
not?
could. It's an angle.
Why not?
I'd be completely unforgettable for many reasons.
Yeah. If we fail at everything else this conference, we should not fail with our beards.
No, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
You
But I
pumped?
am
Coach
excited.
K is going to
I
be
am.
there.
Yeah, I am excited to have a little worlds collide situation. I love basketball so much because of my children that I get to take a picture. My son's like, "Can I go?" I'm like, "You can't, bud. Sorry."
Yeah.
So, but
But,
it is kind of cool.
Hey, you'll be
Yeah,
cool.
I am very excited to see how this connects FM with basketball and like how it. I'm curious to see. I'm very excited to see how they make this merge. How us basketball guys end up getting mixed in with facilities, I'll never know.
Dude, speaking of coaching, you're really leaning into using your assistant now.
Oh, yeah.
What's that like? Yeah.
I mean,
Little flavor. It took me so long to get Justin to hire an assistant.
I'm still decision making, which would be tough to relinquish. I felt it was more important to not lose the connection with both how I deal with my customers and how I deal with the people that work for us. A lot of the things that took up time that would stop me from being able to just follow up on people, check in on things, prepare, right? With the brownout situation we've been talking about going on in the Philippines, right? It allows me to think more outside the box when I have somebody that can take care of things for me, like putting together an SOP so that all the reports go to her so that they could be organized and distributed correctly. Being able to take care of I was taking care of every vacation and time off request, and now that's being taken care of, and we're creating process around these things too, because as we grow, when we were first doing this, we had 2 VMCs, Jonas and Adrian. It was 2 people. We've come so far since then, adding 3 more this month, and we're continuing to grow. There was no way to continue to scale without relinquishing some controls. While I'd say she is my assistant, I'm more setting her up to handle HR tasks, pre-interviews, vacation requests, things like that. It's been really good. And it's taken me a while. It has definitely been little by little by little. And
she's managing your email now too?
Yes and no. The way she organized my email, it kind of manages itself, and I only have to focus on what's in the folders. For me, I would say a lot more admin tasks, reporting and things like that, trying to help me just keep all that stuff organized and making sure, like I tell her, she's kind of in a hybrid role, operational support / HR, making sure that everybody's documents are where they're supposed to be. The first week she came in and just redid even all of the documents were received. So everything's a little bit more organized. It's been awesome. Though I was reluctant, I've needed it, and I've relinquished like a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, which is going to be great because as we grow, it's nice to have a right-hand person that knows exactly what's going on. So yeah, it's been good. It's been really good.
What all does she have access to?
Like,
what did you decide to give her access to?
I mean, she has access to my email.
Yeah. Calendar?
I have a calendar link that I give her that she can use to request stuff, but not full calendar.
She doesn't see your whole calendar, like when you're on calls and really?
No.
Why not?
I mean, it shows up on my calendar. She can see my calendar. Like she's an email address. She just can't like add or remove or without using that link.
Yeah.
Mainly because I just have
that's fine.
And mainly because I have like a lot of my calendars. Like I know, like a lot of my calendars merge, so I've got like other stuff on there, and So I keep everything on one calendar. I don't know how you do
Yeah.
it, but I try to keep everything on one calendar so things don't get missed. One thing I noticed is I don't know how other people work. A lot of people like I do have a family calendar, but that family calendar is visible on my work calendar. It's not part of my work calendar, but it's visible on my work calendar so that nothing gets missed.
Yeah.
Because we like to be agile and it's nice to be able to see everything. I can take a call on a Friday night at 6 o'clock if I'm not something's not on my schedule. I really try to keep it visible across everything. And there hasn't really been a need.
Yeah.
What's been great is that if she needs to schedule anything, she can literally open up that link and see what times are available. So it's been good. Joy's more of your like executive assistant. She's got more of a hybrid role.
Yeah.
For me, managing my calendar wasn't the heavy part. What the heavy part in my area of operations was more the tasks of managing a lot of everything, like vacation schedules, who's got anniversaries and who's actually got time off, how much time have they used, really the HR side of it. And that was the thing that I could not continue to do and us still scale like we're doing at the rate we're scaling. That stuff had to kind of come off my plate. I use mine in a different way than you use your assistant, but it has definitely been a game changer having somebody there to help support. I mean, I tell Mary all the time, I'm like, I could not do this without you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I love having an assistant. It's awesome.
Right.
Joy's great about when I ask somebody to do something, she sees all of it. And whatever she's not a part of in a meeting, she gets my meeting notes. And so whenever I assign something to someone, I'll just say, hey, I want you to get this done. Like, for example, we're redoing all of the help documentation for FM Dashboard 3.0. So I've told our support leader, like, hey, I need you to get this done. And so that's all I say. Like, this is what I need. She has so much context about what I mean that she goes in and creates spreadsheets and maps out every document that's already exists, what the link to the old version is, what the link to the new version is, what percentage completed is. Basically builds a system around making sure it gets done. And she's got this giant Google sheet. And every tab on it is like an individual project. And she just goes every single day, make sure everybody's working, make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do, gets updates. If things are stale, she pushes it along. I can just say, hey, I need this done. And then I can move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And then she watches my email and Help Scout for me. So Help Scout's like our support box. Granted, we have support people managing this. I want to know when things get stuck or repeat
when
things.
Something doesn't look right. Yeah.
And so she brings those things back up to me. What's cool is I also have Elliot doing similar things, right? Where Joy's like on the human level of execution, the OpenClaw agent, that assistant is like, it's just scraping everything every day. And I'm telling it surface insights, things that I'm not paying attention to. We talked about that on the last call, but it's doing that for all those things. That's pretty interesting, like human assistant for things that only people can do, and an agentic assistant for like routine, repetitive tasks that require like reviewing massive amounts of data. And it's pretty awesome. So we're going to continue on what we were talking about last time a little bit. So I'm going to just ask Elliot real quick, see if he remembers. Hey, last week I asked you, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, I asked you to remember the list of suggested topics that you gave for us for Justin and I to talk about on our podcast recording. And we did 2, but what were all 5 of them? Which ones did we do? What are the remaining ones? Can you go find that? So Telegram, I'm just voice texting to Telegram. This is super cool. And he's going to go back and look.
I showed a friend Whisperflow. It like changed his life. He's like, no way. I'm like, yeah, like where you can even make a mistake and be like, no. I didn't mean those 2 people. I meant like these 2 people. And it like goes back and just fixes it. I think I'm on it now over a year. Like whenever I have to go to somebody's house and I have to like help them on their computer and I have to type, I'm like, oh my God, it's exhausting. I'm like, we're going to have to somehow do something different here.
How many total words do you have?
Let's see here. Live on the show, you're going to find out exactly my total words. My total words are 255,000. So I have 255.3K. I'm at 182 words per minute.
How much longer have I been using this than you?
I mean, longer for sure, because you were the one who was like, you got to use it. And I was like, I don't know.
I know, but like,
and I was like, I'll never type
twice
again.
As long. I'm at 458,500 words.
Dude, Scott.
I'm only 148 words per minute, but also I think we use it differently.
You do. talk, how many times have you think you've like talked into it using Claude to like do something and you're just like, and I'm like, ask me questions that I can say yes or no to. And what's funny is I think it's the way we use our agents that you use more words than I do.
Yeah, I think
I think
well,
when
I
you're
also like
programming,
I turn on
you
the
use it a lot
hands-free
more.
mode a lot, and
I don't.
I'll just like I'll start saying something and then I'll stop and I'll probably think for like 30 seconds and then say more and then
No, I
think
stop and
again
I'll be like,
and
maybe I
say
should be
more.
like, nah, I'm gonna go back and say it. And then I'll press it again and be like, all right, so this is what I'm trying to say. It's like, no, yeah, you definitely have been using it longer than I have, but I can't believe you're twice the amount of words than me. I better start
Yeah, but
using
I'm
it.
only 148 words per minute, which is way faster than I type.
I mean, I probably type at about 182 words per minute. That adds up. I have to use Mavis Beacon again. No, I'm just kidding.
I did write a book with it.
Is
So
Mavis Beacon still around?
I also program with it a lot.
That's what I'm
I'm
saying. You
speaking,
program with
yeah.
it. Like I use my phone more than anything when I do that. And I don't use Whisper Flow on my phone because it's not as easy as you think.
Oh, really? You don't? I use it like crazy.
Yeah, see, I don't use it on my phone. I got to figure that out.
All right,
It
you want
just
to
it
know the
hasn't really worked.
secret? I'm still waiting for Elliot. He's digging back through 2 weeks of
Mavis
memory.
Beacon.
Hey, so there is a way, I can't show you because I'm using my phone for recording right now, but there's a way, you know, the action button,
Yeah.
you can program to do different things. You can program that to initiate whisper flow. So you know when you like use the whisper flow keyboard and you hit the microphone and it's like, or you have to like start whisper flow and then it goes to the app and then you have to swipe back. And it's a pain in the butt. You
Yeah.
can just, if it's not on, you can just hold the button and it'll turn it on. And you never have to go back and forth. It uses Apple shortcuts for it. Pretty sick.
Dude, Mavis Beacon is still
What
around.
did you find? So, hey, Elliot's letting me down live on air. He's
telling you, it's the
stuck
switch
processing.
from Anthropic to ChatGPT.
I do believe that's a little bit of it, but what I've noticed sometimes is it'll just stop talking to me for a while and I'm like, oh crap, it's broken. And then like it comes back and it did everything I asked it to do, but it just took a long time and I can't see like where it's like typing because it's actually like stuck processing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why a
So
lot of times I'm like, OpenClaw gateway restart.
I'm gonna go back to our
Anybody
last
who knows
content shoot.
OpenClaw knows what I mean when I'm like, OpenClaw gateway restart. There's been times I'm like, it's
Last
thinking too
content
long.
shoot.
OpenClaw gateway restart.
What were the things we talked about on our content shoot last time? The 5 things that Elliot surfaced, and then what are the 3 things we didn't talk about?
So what's
Hey,
it like
so-
using AI all day and then having AI drive you home? Like now it's like consumed your life a little bit. Because like I think about that every day. I don't just use AI at work. I use it on my phone. I use it when I write. I use it when I type. I use it to drive my car. I didn't think about it, but I'm like, it is all encompassing. I mean, even when I'm in my car, I'm like, Grok, I got a question. Can you like help me think through this? And that's why when people are like, it's dead, I'm like, is it? What? Like, where are you living, sir?
Yeah, it's dead, but it's also not as great as like okay, I'll just say this. So Anthropic's like pushing this out, like, hey, we have new Claude Mythos. This is the new like what's going to supersede
Cadillac.
Opus, and it's so powerful, it's dangerous to release to the public. But like every single day, their application goes down for me. Like every day. And I'm like, okay, if you have access to cutting edge intelligence that is so powerful, it's dangerous to release to the public, like, wouldn't you have used it to fix these issues? Elliot did take a while, but he had to go back 2 weeks into his memory. He said, yep, I found them. The 5 things I gave you were why we built 3 layers instead of just one, what it actually looks like to use AI every day to run a company, the management skills gap that AI is exposing, compression creates expansion and why that changes how you think about hiring, what connects FM attendees need to hear about AI that nobody is saying. We picked the management skills gap that AI is exposing and what it actually looks like to use AI every day to run a company. So
I mean, there's a good example right there of you got to ask the right questions in the right way and manage to make sure it knows. It knew it all along, but it's all in how you ask.
Well, it was having to go. I think it went and spun up a process to go do a deep search through history. Because, like, keep in mind, this thing is doing a lot, and it can only keep 1 million tokens, which you think like a token is a character, both input output in its context window. So a lot of what it's doing is it's having to save information as it goes. That's what the program does. And so then it has to go back through that information and find it. So I just gave it a pretty large task. I didn't remember. And it came back and it has the answers. Why we built 3 layers instead of just one, compression creates expansion, and why that changes how you think about hiring, what connects FM attendees need to hear about AI that nobody is saying. I want to go with why we built 3 layers instead of just one, and I want to talk about that a little bit. So we now have 3 levels of service. Here's one thing that, like, back in 2012, when I first decided I was going to start a company, there was a thing that I noticed, and I started talking about it wasn't what was driving the company I was creating, but I started talking about this, like, we had a huge skills gap, and I noticed this because the employees that the company that I had that were working out in the field, like, everybody was like 45 or older. And so if in 2012 everybody was 45 or over, that means now they're like 59 and older, right? So a lot of people probably retired out of the industry. And we had a really hard, like, there weren't young people that we were hiring. Most everybody was 45. And so people were retiring out. And now what's happening is we're seeing the same thing happen in the office, right? We're seeing, like, the average facilities leader is over 55. We have a whole service line that's built around this problem that you can't find. It's really difficult to find entry-level people. And we're talking to folks every single week who have open maintenance coordinator roles that they can't fill, or there's high turnover or whatever. It's crazy. We have this problem where you have teams that have to do more with less people. They're doing more with less skilled people. There's typically 1 or 2 highly skilled people in the organization that really have a lot of this context and information. Typically that's stuck in their head. And as a result, like, running a facilities maintenance department is very difficult. If you're managing lots of locations, if you're going to solve this problem, we have to do more with less, and it's hard to find people who know how to do a great job, then we need to solve it in 3 layers. So at the base level, we have FM Dashboard, the software, and this is a maintenance management software. A lot of our customers either already have one or they use ours. But this is like the base layer. This is where the data lives. People and AI have to use software in order to do their jobs, right? You have to store.
It's the minimum.
And what
If
software is
you don't have that,
basically,
you're not doing it.
it's storage of information. It's rules on how you can use that information, who can access it, what can be done with it, etc. Right? And that has
Structured
to
data,
happen.
yeah.
And so we took FM Dashboard, we looked at it, we said people aren't pointing and clicking anymore, or won't be. 10 years from now, you're going to have agentic use of software. So we have to rewrote FM Dashboard to have tool use, a full coverage API, and now with full-blown security, the same security you would have with people having to log in and use, you can use that FM Dashboard without ever having to touch the software, either by your software connecting to it, an agentic use of it, that sort of thing. Then we have, like, the top layer, right? We have customers who are having a hard time filling roles or having high turnover at the maintenance coordinator role. And we hired people from, offshore really, really well, specifically the Philippines, and managed teams in the Philippines. We're good at it. Why don't we take this approach and place people, embed expert level experienced facilities maintenance professionals, and they'll come work the maintenance coordinator role for a US based chain. And it's worked out really well. And what are these folks really good at? Following processes that are more loose, right? They require nuanced, critical thinking. This is coming in, here's potential options, evaluate what the best version of an answer or of a solution or next step is, choose that and go forward, right?
They're really a lot good at
non-linear
in between left and right limitations. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So wide, right? But we had this piece missing in the middle. And so, like, take, for example, a customer who had a team of 2 who was responsible for following up on, like, about 5,000 work orders that have a backlog, right? This team of 2 outworks any team that I've ever seen work. But just from time constraints, they pick up the phone and just hammer the phones. Each one of them can get through maybe probably 300, 600 total together, right?
Yeah.
And that's a problem because there's 5,000. So if you do the math, and I can't do math very well, so I'm not going to do it, but you can, if you're following along at home, you can do this math. You can kind of get to, like, how many people you would have to hire to get through this backlog.
Hold on. It's funny that you bring this up. Hold on one second. I need to take this call. Hello?
Hi, this is Derek calling from Scott Reyes Pottery. Trying to get up to work order. Would you rather go over these over the phone, or should I send you a chat link?
Well, since I'm on a podcast, let me go ahead and take care of a couple of them. What you got?
Would you rather go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. Would you rather go over these over the phone, or should I send you a chat link?
Send me a chat link by email.
I have something. And I'm sending the link there now. If anything is still outstanding, I will keep following up during our normal.
I just got it. Thank you.
The link has already been sent, so we can pick this up in chat. If anything is still outstanding, I will keep following up during our normal schedule. Have a great day.
Hilarious. That's crazy that called right then. The reason that agents can't perform human work is because we have to give them really specific tasks. So that thing was waiting for you to say phone. It was waiting for you to say like the specific answer that you gave it. But we have FM agents sitting in the middle. That tool right there can call every one of those, basically divide up work orders by contractor and call all those contractors all at the same time.
If this was like a year ago,
Can't do it.
It couldn't do it. It wouldn't stay on focus. It wouldn't stay focused. It would have just been like, I don't know. And the fact is, I don't know if you heard that too, but in the middle of that, when I said send it to me via email, I got the email while I was on the call with them.
Yeah.
I mean, it was that quick.
Yeah.
And I do feel like that chat way of doing it is going to be a very fast way for folks.
Yeah. So you couldn't do this at all before.
Yeah.
Now we can do it. And as the technology, the underlying technology continues to advance, we can allow that agent to have a more conversational, like be more conversational. Right now we have it pretty locked down because if you let it go, you could talk to that thing, but it would go wind down a path and then like start hallucinating and not actually get the information. And its job is to like actually read each work order, ask for an update, take that information that the caller on the other side gives it and write it back to your maintenance software record. It's an AI, it's a maintenance software agnostic tool that fits in the middle. And so what we have now with this 3-layered approach is we have the ability to solve problems for folks in the facilities maintenance industry in a way that best fits their need. You already have a maintenance management software. Great. There is not a great, I mean, there might be some good cases, but most of the time, if your team already knows it, your stores know it, your contractors know it, don't rip it out. We can build in this agentic layer on top of it that can handle all of that work. So those two people who have 5,000 work orders to get through, an agent in a moment at the same time can get most of those updates back and only surface what requires a person to actually do something. So if it doesn't understand or some additional approval is required, then a person has a queue to go through and
work exceptions
and update. It's not a bunch of typing and, gathering of information. It's here's the data, here's the decision, make the decision, it clears and you move on. And it writes back to the system of record. So this is a really, really great thing. The reason it's 3 separate things is, and I said this a little bit already, but it gives us the ability to solve the problem in the way that best serves the customer. So we're not trying to force our way of doing things into their organization. We can fill the gap that they have with the tools that they need. And that agentic layer, the ability to just take care of a bunch of information gathering work all at once without burdening somebody with having to learn a new UI, it's fantastic.
Yeah. It's like all 3 of them together is the alternate solution, but each thing can solve a certain problem for somebody.
Yeah.
And we know how difficult it is to get, unless you're like a whole new setup, you probably have a solution for one of them. Maybe you have the software, but you don't have the help, or maybe you have the help, but you don't have the software. And most everybody is missing the agentic layer that helps you get caught up and stay caught up. Which that way you guys can actually be facility managers. I mean, I'm sure some people can just imagine how great it would be if their day was just consisted of making decisions, buying decisions, purchasing decisions, facility maintenance decisions, and not phone calls to track stuff down. You're actually going to be a decision maker.
What's really cool is we can design these agents now to serve a very specific role. So we can sit down with a customer and say, like, we build a contractor follow-up agent because almost everybody we talk to has the same problem. It's difficult to follow up on every open work order every single day. And that doesn't matter if you're a chain store or if you're a national contractor, third-party type contractor managing work for a customer. It's so difficult and labor intensive to update every single work order every single day. But it's not with an agent. But there's other, like, we might sit down with somebody and their acute problem is a different thing. And now we can design an agent that can perform that task. So software layer tracks everything, holds data. Agentic layer for things that have a well-defined, repeatable task, those types of things. And then a human layer that is for things that require nuance and judgment within left and right limitations. So that's the reason we have this three-tiered approach. And I think that you're going to see a lot of organizations start switching this way. We talked last week about the biggest bottleneck to AI adoption is management skills, right? Software, agents, managers. That's really what we're building. Our virtual maintenance coordinators, because they're so skilled and so experienced, they can operate as managers of agentic solutions, agentic services. They know how to do this. They often have that experience. We have just a culture of like, get stuff done. And so they can get in the weeds and do things as well. That's the 3-layer approach. So,
I mean,
all right.
personally, I say you need all three. Obviously, that's like the all solution. It is nice that we are able to give people three different solutions.
A lot of our customers, they might have the people and the software nailed, or they might have software nailed, but not agentic, like the follow up and the people, or they might have people, but they need to multiply their efforts. And so it works. Hey, let me show you this. These are cool. This is on the topic of the 3 layers, right? So these are our marketing cards for Connects.
Okay, I was gonna say, are those the business cards?
No.
I was gonna say, those are massive, dude.
Yeah. So this is the software layer, right?
Yeah.
The agentic layer and the human layer, right? Pretty
nice.
Sick. Yeah.
Heck
yeah. We got the business cards too. They're printing those now. I'm going to pick them up on Thursday and then we'll take them on to Orlando. Pretty cool. Compression creates expansion, and why this changes how you need to think about hiring. When you take something that used to be a big task and you shrink down that task into something that gets done a lot faster, right? You're increasing productivity. I heard this story the other day. Essentially, like back in the 50s, right? If you wanted to make a long distance phone call, what you had to do is you had to dial 0 and you would talk to a human operator, and that human operator would, on a board, they would move a cable and create from like the local phone network and create and plug it into the national phone network in order for you to have a long distance phone call. It was basically, you had to like literally create that connection into a different network, right? So think cables, but they were a little bit different than that. Okay. And so a person would do that. So you're like, hey, I need to make a call out to here. Boom. Now we can make that call, get it connected. And so long distance phone calls were really expensive because it required a person who had to initiate it and then move that manually back.
So unplug it from that one and be like, please hold.
Exactly. And then a company came along and invented a mechanical switch, and you no longer needed people to do this. And they were like, hey, this, like the outcry at the time was, this means that there are 8,000 people across the United States, I think it was 8,000, they said, that are no longer going to have a job. This is displacing lives, and these are important people, upstanding members of communities, and like, we should not allow this technology, right? But the other thing that it did was it made the long distance calls become really inexpensive, and it created like a new area code for toll-free calls, 1-800, right? So there's a new area code, and this became the new free national area code. And businesses would incur the now nominal expense of having a long distance phone call. And so you had businesses pop up that essentially created call centers for companies based on this low expense, new technology, right?
Yeah.
So
in the first call
8,000 people lost did lose their jobs. That job went away. But the call center industry is way bigger than 8,000 people.
Yeah.
Right. There has never been any, at least that, I might be wrong. I'm not like an expert on all technological advances, but there are very few, like I can't think of any where some disruptive technology came along, and what happened as a result of that technology was net negative. Now, there are examples where a new technology comes along and it is on the short term disruptive, but on a long term, like very creative, very productive, very
There's something else that comes out of it.
Right. And so think about how the compression of work is an expansive thing. I get excited about new tools, and I wasn't old enough to take advantage of the internet like becoming a big thing. But now we're in a position right now where we have this kind of same opportunity in front of us. What's interesting is it's generally not the legacy ways of doing things that create all the new opportunity. It's entrepreneurs. And so what does this mean? Now that like everything happens faster and easier, we have even more opportunities to build things. And not everything's going to work, but there's something that's going to come along that is going to be different. Now, if you're an organization and you're trying to take advantage of this, it's going to change the way that you have to hire, because for two reasons. One, for a lot of things where you have a temporary influx in demand, you're going to be able to absorb this with some kind of agentic tool, like tool use. And that might be something that you hire for or subscribe to from a provider, right? Because I do believe that software is going to look a lot more like service. Or it's going to be
you can make it however you
something
want to.
that you have roles internally, people who know how to use these tools, and they build out that capacity internally, right? And it kind of goes in hand. The skill set of getting something, like performing a task, is different than the skill set of writing a process, finding the resources, allocating resources, and managing that process is executed and monitoring the results that come back. I have a son who's about to graduate college. He's preparing for the workforce. And I'm telling him, like, hey, you're learning a lot of good things in college, and you learned how to get work done and be responsible and all this sort of stuff. But if you want to get a really great job straight out of school, hiring you should feel like hiring 10 people.
Yeah.
And so you need to learn these tools. And I know you've like this whole time in college, you basically were punished if you used AI to get work done. And you're about to enter a workforce where you're going to be rewarded heavily for using AI to get work done.
Yeah.
And so hiring you should feel like hiring a marketer and a writer and a developer and a process creator. You need to think of yourself as like, you can go into a business and learn it and then automate tasks and be the most productive person in the organization. Like you need to be the guy that knows how to fire up a terminal and invoke Claude Code or Codex and build out some kind of agent that runs on a computer that can ingest information and turn it into something else and execute, right? Case in point, we have to get a bunch of emails out to people, and I don't want to just blanket throw a bunch of stuff in some kind of pre-built tool that I have no control over. And so I used
that is going to show your
OpenClaw
spamming
because I knew the process that I wanted to run, and I said, go research, get these company names, then use this tool, go find people who work in this role at those names. Then for each one of those people, go research something about them and kind of where they're at. Then weed out the people that we can't help or that like are not a good fit. And then for the people who are left, come up with a case based on the research that you had of how we can specifically help them with something that they're talking about based on something they posted or said or a PR, a press release from their company or whatever.
Yeah.
And then draft an email. And now I have 130 something emails in my outbox to manually look at each one, make adjustments, and send. And this is something that used to get done by completely automated, and everybody got the same thing. And we get these emails.
It was done with like MailChimp or something.
What the heck are you even talking about?
Yeah, and then at the end of the email,
hi, I'm
you have to
super
have like an
impressed about FM
unsubscribe
Dashboard, and it says something it doesn't even make sense, or like super impressed with FM Dashboard. I've got a franchise opportunity for you.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't want a restaurant franchise. I run a maintenance software business. So anyway, like that's an example, and that's something like could have spun up. I could like go out and hire for this, and then you have to like train. You do all these things, or like I have a one-time use where I need to get a bunch of emails sent out all at once, and I got it done in a morning while I was doing all the other things. Right?
You just become more efficient.
Chatting with something. It's unbelievable. And that's going to change how hiring works as well, right? So do I, as a business leader, do I want to hire somebody who can do one thing, or do I want to hire somebody who can do the same thing that I just did?
Yeah.
Every time something needs to get done. That's who I want. I want to hire somebody and feel like I'm hiring 10 people. And it's going to change. It changes the skills that you need to develop as an employee. It changes the skills you need to develop as a leader. Everything's different, right?
Yeah, I think one of the common things that if anybody's been kind of paying attention to what we're talking about and what we're doing is if you are the type that is not willing to embrace change and learn something new, then that's it. That's the whole entire thing. You got to be willing to learn something new and embrace change, because even what we're doing right now with OpenClaw and stuff, like how many times have I come to you and I'm like, I don't want to touch anything right now. Like, leave it as it is. You know what I mean? Like it can get very frustrating and you have to be willing to work through it.
Yeah.
And again, I believe that's what makes somebody a good manager. AI stuff aside, I believe that's what makes somebody a good manager, willing to change, willing to see other people's views, willing to adjust things on the fly that make sense to make things better. And if you're not one of those folks, then you're one of the people out there saying AI is not the future. AI is a waste
Yeah.
of time. Like you're definitely that person.
Yeah.
Because most of the people that are using these tools and are in the environment we're in are very susceptible to change and open to hearing other people's opinions.
Here's what compression actually does. Writing gets faster. Research gets faster. Coding gets faster. Follow-up gets faster. Coordination gets faster. The cycle between I have an idea and executing on that completely collapses. And you're not going to take that time that you save and sit still. You're going to take on more. You're going to make more experiments. You're going to increase your output. You're going to have more touch points with your customer. You're going to have more strategic swings. I think like you're going to see less, I have an idea, and more, here's a prototype of an idea I have.
Yeah.
And that changes everything, right? So the hiring implication becomes, it's not who do we hire? The first question that we're going to, like that I'm asking now is, what can this current team do? Or what even can I do specifically if AI is handling the repetitive load?
Yeah.
So we will hire more, but we'll probably hire somebody who is managing that, and they have to know how to manage that. And we're going to also hire for judgment, for ownership, for taste is kind of, I mean, it's this like soft word, but like judgment is really, I think the word that I'm gravitating towards, right? We're not just hiring for like what is actually being done on the other side. Like that's important. The productivity is important. But with this increase of ability to produce, we need people who know, yep, that's good. We should put more time into it. Or, you know what, that's not a good idea. We don't need to be doing it.
It should be no more of like, you know, and again, these aren't people, I'm just using names because I'm a more simple-minded person, but you know, it should be less of, you know, Steve in IT's man, he's a difficult guy to work with, but he's, you know, but he knows what he's doing. Now it should be more of, man, I'm hiring people because they actually agree and meet with the vision of what we're talking about. And we've got everything else in line to get them up to speed.
Well, you said something right before we got on a call that I think is very in line with this, where you're like, man, I got to get this process out, but I don't agree with this process. When you create a process
around a bad process,
what happens?
That's how I felt. I'm like, I feel like I'm going to create a process around a bad process. Like, because we're asked to do something a certain way, but the way we're asked to do it, I feel like isn't the way we should be doing it. But I can create something that makes doing it wrong or not the good way. I have a process that I could enact that would make that easier to be done.
Yeah. So what ends up happening when you automate something that's incorrect, you get incorrect results. And this is my point, right? You have the judgment and the experience to understand, like, I shouldn't do this. I know I'm being asked to do this. I shouldn't. I need to bring this back and say, hey, this is what ought to be done instead. Because if we do it this way and then we amplify the results, you're going to have a bigger problem on the other side.
Well, they're somewhat complacent with how it's doing it, but I'm going to make it even more complacent if I make it even easier to do it the wrong way. But for me, even though they're doing it the wrong way, this will help me on our side make sure that we don't miss anything in this wrong process is how I see it. But these are the type of things that I like to think through. I'll think through the problem with Wally and just be like, hey, this is what I have going on. This is kind of what I'm thinking through. Here's the process. I haven't done that yet. Those are some of the ways I like to use, you know, my AI tools.
Yeah. So on that note, because what is compressive is also expansive, right? One thing I see a lot that's happening in the market. So we're going to move on to this fifth topic that Elliot came up with from 2 weeks ago. What Connects FM attendees need to hear about AI that nobody's saying. So here's what I think. We have a technology now that is generative. It can create things out of nothing. It can create things out of data that you have. And a lot of the focus on the tools that are being built to use this technology is on that side of this. The problem is, and we've seen this over and over again, we're a very customer-centric development organization. We build a lot of the things that our customers ask for. And one of the mistakes we learned, this is pre-AI, but one of the mistakes we learned is when you build a new feature that new feature could create additional work. And when you create additional work, you have a backlog, right? And there is a real component to using the generative nature of AI that just creates more work that is unnecessary. And I think that right now, especially in our industry, when data, like the trust in the actual information you're working with is low. And it's low because the source of this information is usually coming from folks who are the least incentivized to have to use it. We have to force contractors to use our platform in addition to their platform so that our customers get the information they want, right? And that friction leads to incomplete information. A lot of the tools that have been built so far are, here's what we can do with your data. But if that data is incomplete and untrustworthy, it isn't effective, right? And what you should be demanding of your providers, your software providers, your AI tooling providers, is that they're building tools that make data collection way easier, way more automated, way more simple. Right. The other thing is a lot of stuff that's out there is the communication around it is it's very vague. It's too futuristic. It's very software centric, not agent centric. Right. And it's like, here's what your software can now do with AI, and it can surface insights. It can do all this stuff. The terminology around it is very magical. It's going to change everything. It's making everything smarter. And it's a lot of noise, I believe, in our industry and in software in general. We've never had a lack of dashboards. The problem is the labor is tied up in follow-up and dispatch and vendor coordination, status chasing, and exception hunting, right? And we have all these tools that they're like, hey, we're going to be best at tracking work. We're going to be best at surfacing insights. We're going to give you even more information for you to go through before you create a work order so that you have more information on the work order. It's not going to be helpful. It's going to create a bigger backlog. Now we have tools that can do some of the work. And so a lot of teams are still throwing people at coordination problems. And what they should do instead is look for agentic solutions to repeatable processes. And those agentic solutions should start with the gathering of data, right? AI can gather data. It can take unstructured information, turn it into structured information, and it can surface things that you should pay attention to. And then what you should pay attention to are the things that you should pay attention to, right? This is why I opened this conversation up with you and you finally having an assistant in place, right? Mary takes a lot of the operational, not even repetitive tasks. Like some of it could be, we could build agents to do it, and we probably will at some point, but we're still learning what repetitive task is. But she's taking a lot of that so that what you actually gets to you, the emails that actually get to you, the meetings that actually get to you are things where you can make an impact, right? And you need to look at that. I don't think the wedge is replacing a current tool that you have. Although, if you want to get rid of your CMS platform and hire FM Dashboard, if it's your idea, we'll do it. But I'm not going to try to convince you.
Great idea.
You have to have a real business case for it. It's layer a coordination layer onto it. Better tools for collecting information, normalizing that information, and getting it into the structure that you're already used to working in. And then let people handle the exceptions. What you should be wary of is anything that claims like magic. Like you can just step out of this and not have to deal with any of it. You need a human in the loop. You need thresholds and clear escalation paths, right? You should look at tools that have like software agnostic integration. And you want something that's going to give you a practical ROI, not theater, right?
Yeah.
FM Agents is a good example of this. And I am selling this. Absolutely. I believe this thoroughly. It would cost, basically, at our scale, if you hired a virtual maintenance coordinator, it's going to cost you $3,600 a month. And that person is going to they're going to work their butt off, and they're going to get through 300 work orders where they're actually gathering information and putting it back in your software system. Okay? That's awesome, but it's not anything close to what they could do with you when you layer an agent on top of it, right? When you layer an agent on top of it, they could spend that time on those 300 work orders a week making decisions that actually move things forward.
This is the thing. The 300 work orders,
gathering information.
Yeah, the 300 work orders they're working on are the 300 exceptions out of the 5,000 plus. If you have a backlog of let's even say you have a backlog of 1,000 work orders, I guarantee you 25% of those are going to have some sort of issue. So now that they're spending that 250 work orders they're going through that week now are meaningful. Not I went through 300 work orders, 100, and 60 of them I was able to complete, because those are some of the things you really look at it. You're not able to complete that many. many. Like
It
out of
becomes
300, you're
300
maybe able to complete.
actual real problems that you're solving, not
Yes.
300 things that you're asking a question that
You
can be
still
answered.
need the person to
Yeah.
solve that problem. They still need to go and talk to the contractor, find out why is the information inconsistent. Maybe they need to call the store and get photos. They're all things that AI agents, they can't generally do, that you need a human to do it. And so basically it's not replacing anybody. It is enhancing and zooming in on the scope of work in which that person is getting done. Now the time is not being wasted. We are now focusing on what exactly needs to be done, which does what? Allows you to take on more locations. We get to look at more information. We get to, it's
And
not
you
replacing
also,
anything.
you
We
don't burn
just get to
people
do
out because you
more.
don't have them on busy work. That's just mind numbing and requires no, like, you know, no skill set, right?
I have heard facility maintenance coordinators say this exact words. I mean, not even joking. I've heard them say these exact words. Man, I love doing what I get to do when I actually get to do my job. When I'm not hunting down information and I get to actually do my job, which is look at data and decide, do I want to replace this piece of equipment? Do I not want to replace this piece of equipment? Like, or is this vendor doing a good job, or is they actually get to make decisions? People like to make decisions. It's the human condition. They like to get a problem and solve a problem. But if 90% of their day is nonsense phone calls and just chasing stuff down that an email of a chat could have solved, you know, you're going to wear them out. And that's why the turnover rate is so high. One of the reasons why the turnover, not the only. I'd say one of the biggest is, not having clear direction and clear SOPs and instructions to give your staff to know what they need to do and know how to win. But along with that is the repetitiveness of phone calls. When you tell somebody they're going to be a facility maintenance manager and they get to manage facilities and they don't get to do that, they become a call center, or all they're doing is calling contractors. You're going to lose them. You really will.
Yeah. And I'd say, like, the sooner that companies put this into place, the sooner they operationalize it, they're going to run leaner. They're going to respond faster. The advantage for this is not it. Cost is a component of it, but it's also speed, consistency, and scale. The data that you're going to have, those insights that get surfaced, are going to be more meaningful. You're actually going to be able to trust it. The hypothesis you want to test and put into place, you can do it faster. This is about reallocating human time away from repetitive coordination towards judgment. It's the same thing as the switch. You had a person whose job was to take something from here and stick it there, right? If your job is to turn a switch, that went away, but what came in its place was, at the time, probably more rewarding work. Now we're going to start replacing call centers with some of these agentic services, but that means that people don't have to have the same conversation over and over again. They can actually work on things that are important, or that and feel like they're contributing, because they are. I think, like, the next big shift in, not only in our industry, but just out there right now, it's not software that helps you manage work better. Software is going to start looking like a service. It's going to do part of the work. We're transitioning from where work is being done to work getting done. And I think those are two different layers. I think if you tie in the work getting done layer too closely, like if you can't make it replaceable, then you're going to get stuck. And so having these different things that you can plug into, the tools that you're already using as the foundational layer, the better you're going to be. I'm excited to have these conversations at Connects. I think that we have a unique perspective on this stuff. We're not trying to sell bells and whistles. We're trying to really think about and answer the question, what are you doing every single day that software should be able to do for you? And we now have tools that can actually do that, and it's super exciting.
Yeah, we're not over here like, find out how much you're spending on all your work orders and get the Mets game scores. No, I'm just kidding.
Mets. All right, good pod.